Minnesota waterfowl season was upon us, and the weather did not feel like it at all. It was warm, very warm, not conducive to waterfowl hunting. But as they say, it is the season. So our group hit the wetlands. There were some geese in the area. Also, we saw some ducks flying. But in this warm weather, they were no panic to feed. Many were just loafing on the water. Even the swans were just hanging out, floating around. Another interesting sight was a songbird chasing bugs along the shoreline of the slough. But the guys were hoping to find enough local birds to hunt. They were hopeful for some action so they could warm up the shotguns they were testing for Retay. So let's join our group of experienced hunters, hosted by Jim Burkett of Professional Marketing Inc. Jim loves to waterfowl, and even more, loves to share his passion with others for this great sport. The morning was beautiful. There were a few birds moving about the area, and one thing was for sure, it was a good day to be a waterfowler. As with any opening day, the crew was primed for some action. To a man though, they were really enjoying the splendor of first light on the pond. Then it happened. Here came a duck and the Retays opened up, never missing a beat. The first volley may not have connected, but it sure felt good. The Retay worked flawlessly. The off-season rust started to disappear. The birds early season are very much unpredictable in their actions, but our crew had a nice spread with the kind of pattern the birds had been in when they were out scouting earlier. The action was really picking up, as were the spirits of our hunters. The morning flurry of activity was proof that the scouting and the decoy spread were paying off. The shooting slowed as the morning waned. The guys figured it was time to eat some breakfast, so the guys got out the fire disc and went to work on some delicious grub. Eating outdoors always makes the food taste better. This is a great time for stories, getting to know each other a little better, maybe even telling a lie or two.
High Point Pet Foods presents Country Creations Dog Foods, offering quality nutrition for the life of your canine companion. To fuel the fire of puppyhood into keeping the energy level high of an active young dog, optimizing the performance of the hard-charging adult, or having a quality diet for your senior canine companion. Country Creations has you covered with their quality formulas. Get in touch with High Point Pet Foods today.
Make your next day on the water even better with Airwave Pedestal, the only air suspension system that can be custom adjusted to the weight of the rider. No unreliable springs, no oil-filled shocks to leak. Our patented design utilizes a two-stage suspension system to smooth out the roughest ride, while limiting travel to an industry-leading 2 inches. This boating season, enjoy your time on the water to the fullest. Find out how at airwavepedestal.com.
Midwest Gun Dog Kennels is your full-time gun dog training facility. For over 30 years, we have customized our training to fit each individual gun dog. We know it takes a well-trained gun dog to handle wild birds. Make every hunting trip a dream trip. Let Midwest Gun Dog Kennels put excitement back into your hunt of a lifetime. Midwest Gun Dog Kennels, where experience equals excellence.
Well, as you might be able to tell, I spend a lot of time behind the shotgun. Whether it's at the clay target fields, sporting clays fields, doing exhibitions, or bird hunting, I always trust my shooting skills to the Rio Elites. Not only for the lighter recoil, but as you can tell, the harder hitting, consistent patterns. These clay targets don't stand a chance when you shoot Rio Elite.
Well, I'm Dominic, and I've been duck hunting pretty much all my life, and I want to talk a little bit about duck and goose calls today and different scenarios that I use different duck and goose calls and also different techniques for calling. So I'll probably start with duck calls here. There's a couple different varieties out there. There's polycarbonate, which is a hard plastic. There's wood, and there's acrylic. I tend to favor an acrylic duck call because you tend to get a better sound out of it, and it also holds its sound, whereas wood expands and contracts with the weather. So sometimes you get a little bit, different sounds, higher pitch or deeper sounds with that wood, but it really comes down to personal preference. These are what's called a J-frame style duck call. You have what's called a tone board right here, and that's the reed of a duck call, and that's your cork. So the reed is what gives the call the sound, and this just happens to be a single reed. So something I didn't mention is there's single reed and double reed duck calls out there. A single reed call is louder and it's more versatile. It tends to favor a more experienced duck caller, where a double reed is more user-friendly if you're just starting out. And it is also a little bit raspier for a double reed, but I'll give you a sound of what a single reed duck call sounds like. So that's a single reed duck call. So this duck call, I tend to use it when I really want an aggressive scenario. So if there's a lot of wind out there and I need to reach out those ducks, it's really nice because I can reach out and those ducks can hear me off in the distance. Whereas this call right here is wood and it's a little bit quieter. So when you don't have as much wind and you need to be quieter, or there's ducks are working a lot closer to you, that's when I tend to favor this duck call here. So those are two different styles of duck calls that I like to use. Something that I've always kind of stood by when duck hunting. I like to call when a duck is going away. I don't like to call when it's coming directly at you, except for really soft cadences, something like this. And that's about all I'll do if I have that duck coming into me, because I don't want to screw up that scenario. That's about it for duck calls. Pretty much your basics right there. As far as goose calls, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the flute style goose call, which is really long, and that was one of the first style of calls that came out. But the drawback to a flute goose call, you can't get as many notes out of it. It's very user friendly, but it's a very limited amount of range. So about 20 years ago they came out with the short reed goose call. As you can see, it's a couple inches in length, but you get a lot more volume and a lot more notes out of it, like this. So they're really versatile. I tend to carry two different calls, just like when I'm duck hunting. I have one call that's really my go-to in every scenario. It's kind of a medium tone, like this one right here, compared to this one is a little louder and a little more higher pitch. I tend to use that one when it's really windy or when there's a lot of geese and I just want to sound different than somebody else as well too. So that's a big thing with calling too, is complimenting somebody else that you're hunting with. If you're hunting with somebody that tends to be more aggressive in their calling, I like to do very subtle notes, something that I just kind of fill in the background, something like this. Whereas if you're hunting with somebody that's not as experienced, you might have to get a lot more aggressive with that calling and kind of take the lead there. So that's when I would change my pitches a lot more and get more aggressive with it. So that's something to keep in mind. Always be aware of who you're hunting with and what type of calling that they tend to do, whether it's more aggressive or quiet, and just kind of try to complement that other hunter that you're hunting with.
All right, y'all get up. Yeah! Way to go. Right there, dude. Chester, back. Nice. Man, I love this new Retay. It is sweet. They're nice. It is sweet. Feels wonderful in my hands. I like the lightweight. It is light. What about you, Scotty? What's your favorite thing about it?
I love the trigger housing. This renewable trigger housing right here without any pins. It's got its own button on it. It comes right out. It's all metal.
Pin. Knock it out.
Yeah, and you just stick it right back in there, just like that. I mean, it's there. That's an awesome feature.
It is. It is. You know, I like to turkey hunt as well, and my favorite thing about it is that it's fixed the click problem when you're going into battery. So if you need to close this slowly, it goes into battery every time.
Can't make it stop.
Mm-hmm. Somebody needs to get Chester.
As Chester retrieved the last duck after the Retay shotgun barrage, everyone in the group was thinking that the day was already a huge success, and the birds just kept flying. It is fun when there are so many different species of ducks in the area. Mallards, teal, gadwall were just a few of the puddle duck species. There were some divers around. Oh, don't forget the geese. If you were a waterfowler, this was heaven, and it was a warm and gorgeous day. The group had plenty of opportunities to test the Retay shotguns. Also, it was nice to make new friends and catch up with old friends. Hey, thanks Jim Burkett, a Professional Media Incorporated, for being such a great host.
Dennis Foster here. I'd like to introduce you to the Dorado catch and release boat latch system. It's back the trailer into the water, pop the cord, and away we go. Once our day in the water is done, we simply roll the boat up onto the bunks until it achieves contact with the bow eye. It clicks securely into place, away we go. We're exclusive partners with b2outdoors.com. That's where you're going to want to go and order your very own system. You can enter the promo code iTimePromotions and receive free shipping on your items.
Midwest Gun Dog Kennels is your full-time gun dog training facility. For over 30 years, we have customized our training to fit each individual gun dog. We know it takes a well-trained gun dog to handle wild birds. Make every hunting trip a dream trip. Let Midwest Gun Dog Kennels put excitement back into your hunt of a lifetime. Midwest Gun Dog Kennels, where experience equals excellence.
Dakota Pheasant Guide offers the best wild pheasant hunts from the Glacial Lakes area of South Dakota west to the Missouri River. Packages available include everything from self-guided to fully guided hunts. Book your bird hunting adventure now. Fishermen, iTime Promotions is your ticket to an enjoyable and successful day on the water. Call Dennis Foster for your outdoor adventure of a lifetime.
Dennis Foster here, Focus Outdoor Television, Dakota Pheasant Guide, which is my hunting business. We're wrapping up our season for the year, at least our film portion. We're out here on Christmas Eve Day. Had a pretty good year. We're starting to see numbers rebound. A lot of that is due to a little more awareness of conservation, and to that end, we have some different projects going with Pheasants Forever, and I had the honor of hunting with Tom Carpenter, who runs Pheasants Forever's Journal, I guess would be the name of the magazine.
Journal of Upland Conservation.
Right. If you're not aware of Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever, you folks need to be. It is a premier upland bird organization out there. I encourage people to join not only your organization, but your local organizations. And give us kind of a rundown of exactly what you folks do.
Well, Pheasants Forever is all about upland conservation. You know, we've impacted 17 million acres since 1982. About 190,000 of that is permanently protected, open to the public. It's either wildlife management areas, waterfowl production areas, game production areas across the pheasant range. So you know, your dollar goes to more than that, though. It's really a voice for conservation. Pheasants Forever is very active in Washington, D.C. for the Farm Bill. Perfect. And it really makes makes a difference.
Right. The legislation is a big thing. You know, obviously get as actively involved as you can, call your congressmen, senators, but we don't always have the time to do that. But you folks have the staff that knows how to do this, fight through the red tape, do the lobbying, so forth. I would strongly, strongly recommend, if you're not a member of Pheasants Forever, become a member. If you are a member and know the benefits, don't be afraid to donate a few extra dollars in there. Dollars do help this cause. Another angle of conservation that I push heavily is getting our children involved to conserve the sport itself. Look forward in upcoming episodes. We do have some conservation programs where we're working with Habitat, with Farm Bill biologists, from Pheasants Forever, doing children's events, so forth, to keep the ball rolling. With that being said, we're going to wrap up the season. Had a great hunt today.
Good hunt.
Got a few down, beautiful weather, and that'll be that. Hey folks, Dennis Foster, Focus Outdoors Television. In this episode, we're going to be highlighting a lot of the action from this year's pheasant season on a number of the different properties of Dakota Pheasant Guide. With that, we're on one of them here near the town of Forestburg, South Dakota. I happen to be with Andrew Johnson, who's a frequent contributor to projects such as we have going on this particular property here at Forestburg, is conservation projects, and I'd like to spend a little time talking about that today before we get into the highlights and the footage of the year, which is going to be mainly non-commentary. We have a property here. It's an excellent property. The landowner has it set up very good. We've got heavy winter cover in the form of tree claims, heavy sloughs, just a number of different great options. But we wanted to see what we could do to make this even better. And with that, we got a hold of our Pheasants Forever biologist out of Redfield, South Dakota, my home county, to help us. We did document a little bit of that this spring. We're going to be doing a number of ongoing things. One of the things I'm probably most excited about is the wildflowers. But we've enlisted Andrew's help with that and a little bit of advice. You know, throw some comments on your thoughts on this whole conservation thing, because it is so important today. Not enough of us are involved.
Right, and Dennis and I have talked about this before, where conservation starts with a conversation. So you talk with your local landowners, local Pheasants Forever chapters, local biologists, and get the ball rolling. And then when it comes time to put boots on the ground, put habitat on the ground, you have all these resources available. And like Dennis talked about, this property is a unique property. One, it's already set up. It holds a large number of birds the way it is, but there are ways to make it even better. And it's kind of near and dear to my heart, because right across the road, not even a quarter mile away, is where I cut my teeth hunting. And so this is some old family ground across the road. Lucky enough to know Dennis and work on this property. And I have my son here, Gavin, who's 13. And someday I hope that he's able to hunt out here and enjoy it as much as I do. So that's a big reason we're out here today too, is to get youth involved, show him what the outdoors is about, and that there's much more to life than a 5-inch screen or a TV screen. And like, this is what it's about. When we pulled up, about a dozen deer came out of the trees right
behind
here,
us, right?
stood here while we
behind
got
us.
sat up, didn't mind that we were here. There's a pheasant cackling over here. I mean, it's fantastic.
You know, and that's all part of the whole conservation theme. You know, we always think of that as conserving the land, the resources, and that is a major part of it. And quickly, I'd like to say, get involved at whatever level you can, whether monetarily, time-wise, join your local organizations, national, whatever you can do helps. But also through conservation, to me, it means conserving our heritage. And you touched on that. This is ground that's close to your heart, something that you had growing up, something you want to pass along to Gavin. As we're involved in our local organizations and in the bigger organizations, take time to take part in the youth events. You know, get your own kids out, obviously. If you don't have kids, or if your kids have gotten older, don't be afraid to lend a hand, because there's a lot of kids that don't have parents that are actively involved in the outdoors. They'd like to be, they may not have the resources or the know-how. Darn sure volunteer for that, whether it be hunting or fishing.
Yeah. Several states, including South Dakota, have mentor programs or mentor licenses available. You know, Gavin was out hunting before he even had his hunter safety, but it was through a mentor program where he carries the gun and I follow behind and ensure he follows all the rules. So he's already got a leg up on some kids going into the Hunt Safe program, before he's even carrying a license, actually. So get involved. Like Dennis said, it's important, because if we do all this work now and there's no one to carry it on, then what's the point?
Exactly, and quite frankly, in my opinion anyway, if we're out here enjoying this stuff ourselves as adults, we owe it to give back because we were fortunate enough to take part in this.
Yep.
You know, and myself as part of the industry, you know, that's something that's important to a guy. There's no doubt about it.
Diesel train rolls down the line as I'm headed for the land of corn and rye. There is a place I'm always satisfied, full of remedies to ease my worried mind, like pulling catfish on the banks of Cherry Cove, watching wood ducks glide like